My semester was pretty rough, honestly, the full first year up until now, but I kind of feel like I've just been under attack since even before school started, but ENC has been really nice and impactful for me at least, just because being there has kept me accountable by walking in my faith with others and seeing how they're growing, as well as just encouraging me in seeing how they're growing. For me, it looks like just trying to represent the gospel the best I can in my classes. I am in a lot of art classes, which is more difficult just because in those majors and these areas, a lot of the people are not Christian and are very opposed to that idea. And so being confident in my faith and living life as a Christian openly is a little bit of a struggle, just because I know that I am being judged for it. It's not like a, what if they're judging me? It's, I know they are if they know that I'm Christian. But I'm trying to just be confident and open about it anyways, and not be scared to be a Christian in public spaces. My advice for incoming freshmen would definitely just to be very intentional about everything. Tuesdays are always a long day, no matter what kind of day you have, just especially driving back all the way to campus, for me at least, since I don't live on campus. So being intentional and just getting there is extremely helpful, because once you're there, it's really rejuvenating and refreshing, and I always feel better afterwards, but sometimes getting there is the struggle.
Thank y'all for being here today. So excited about what God is doing in and through His church in the world, but then in particular, His church here at In Focus right here in Evans, Georgia. And so a little bit different setup than normal. We don't always have a horse trough right in the middle of the auditorium, but today we do. And we're going to be doing some baptisms. But before we get to the baptisms, we have some interviews we're going to be doing with some of our college students, ENC students. You've heard that's already said. It stands for Every Nation Campus. It is our worldwide campus ministry with all of our Every Nation churches all over the world. And we have a chapter here, and we have two campus missionaries down on campus at Augusta University. One is Mark Maldonado, and the other is my guy, Thomas Lawless, right here. Thomas?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. You look great.
Don't lie to him now. All right. So, no, you're being nice. But we also are going to be talking to some of the students that have become a part of our Every Nation campus ministry there, that Mark and Thomas have been able to talk to and speak to. And our first student this morning, if you would welcome her, is Grace.
Woohoo!
Yes. Well, welcoming Grace to the stage. We have more than one Grace in this demographic, so we have to maybe differentiate. But Grace, why don't you tell everybody where you're from? And I want you to do that this service because, and be specific, all right? Because when I asked her earlier, because Grace and I, we met at campus when I went and spoke at campus a few weeks ago, but I didn't know her personally. And so I'm saying, well, where are you from? Well, I'm from near Atlanta. I'm like, okay, I'm from Georgia. You could tell me where. Like my wife always goes, I'm from Atlanta. I'm like, you're not from Atlanta. You're from Snellville. That's not Atlanta. And then she's like, well, it's north of Atlanta. I okay, where? And it was like, so you could tell them, because I was like, I'm sure some other people know this place.
So I'm from north of Atlanta.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm from Flowery Branch, Georgia, cute little town.
Flowery Branch. Listen, every Falcons fan knows Flowery Branch because that's where they practice before the year starts.
Oh yeah, I got to help them at their training facility this past summer. That's
Oh,
what it was
sweet.
like. Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've got all of that taken care of, what year are you at school at the university?
Oh, I'm a freshman at Augusta
A
University.
freshman. All right. So now, why don't you let everybody know, as a freshman, first time here, right, coming into school, how did you get introduced to ENC?
So I was wandering around campus, going about my business. I was sitting, relaxing under a tree.
As most freshmen do, sit
Yes,
and relax
as they
under a tree.
should. And had my eyes closed, and I remember hearing Mark and Thomas come up to me, and they started just having a conversation, asking me about myself, sharing some encouragement and love, and they introduced me to ENC and told me I should start coming to their weekly Tuesday meetings. And I was a little skeptical because I didn't grow up in church, and I was a little skeptical about Christians, but I went, and it was a lot of fun, and I found that everyone there loved Jesus and was very encouraging, and it was great. I loved it.
Thomas, why don't you, you were there, so
Yeah,
share
maybe
your
I
kind
can
of
give my
perspective of it.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want your perspective of that, meeting that girl sitting under the tree.
She was at that tree a lot. The semester must have been hard or something because she was always at that tree. You are a nursing major, so I understand. But yeah, me and Mark were just, being faithful. I kind of shared this in the first service, and I'll say it again. This is really what discipleship looks like. It really starts with a conversation. When we're teaching people about Jesus, a lot of people don't really even know the story of what he's done in their lives. And for Mark and I and other students who join us consistently, like Grace now recently, we really share that message because it is important. And it might feel really hard at times to just want to have the courage to be able to do it, but sometimes it literally starts with a conversation. And so that's what we did. We had that conversation, and now Grace is here.
Yes. And you can give a hand. So Mark and Thomas are two of our campus missionaries, and that's what they do. They are out on campus. They're walking around. They're looking for God really to open up doors. And as they're praying, and we've done prayer times, they pray around campus. God, let us meet who you want us to meet today, and we'll be faithful to share with them what you've done in our life, and pray that you would do the same for them. Save them, change them, transform them. So that is the power of evangelism and discipleship, as we are disciples making disciples. So I want to ask Grace, because Grace is going to be baptized today in this service. Yeah. So we did the interviews with the same people, but we didn't baptize her in the first service because we didn't want her to have to sit up here having been soaking wet in front of everybody in the second service. So, but Grace, what led you to the place that you're going to be today, which is now standing in front of everybody here, professing Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? What happened to get you to where you are now?
Right, so sometimes when you're young, you might know of Jesus or maybe even know him, but maybe you're not obedient. So I have been trying to control my life. And when you came to ENC, you talked about lordship, and that's what I was missing. And now what's led me here is I'm feeling pulled to a life of obedience to God, and I want to profess that publicly everywhere all the time, that my life is yours, Jesus. I don't want control anymore.
That's awesome. We can give a hand to that, huh? Yeah, that's the power of the gospel at work. And so I'm so excited. And then I know there were some exciting things that happened at the beginning of the year, and the Lord was speaking. So why don't you speak to that?
Yes, this amazing thing that Pastor Brent is talking about that you all hear about every now and then is the ENC conference series. Really excited about the ENC conference.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. Hush up.
But yes, we've been talking about the ENC conference. We had a lot of students who joined us. My life has specifically been transformed by the ENC conference, which is why I've, am where I am. But Grace was there. She had a great experience. You want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yes, the ENC conference. Wow, that was a lot of fun. And
so like 3,000 plus students from all over our campus ministries, all over the nation, in Orlando at the first of the year. That's what that was.
Yes, and it was so encouraging to see people from all over the world coming to worship God. It was so great. It was amazing. And I really enjoyed it there because that was, what pushed me into what I'm doing now. So I've been joining Mark, evangelizing on campus every once in a while, and I'm getting baptized.
Yeah.
So it was great. God was really calling
What
me.
else did you kind of feel like maybe?
Kind of, a little bit.
A little bit, maybe?
I think I might be called to campus ministry.
Yeah.
Or something of the sort.
And the reality is, and you were saying nursing, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay. The reality is for all of us, wherever we are, we're called to be ministers of reconciliation, reconciling people back to God in and through Christ by the power of the Spirit. And we can do that wherever we are. I mean, you're not full-time vocational minister or something. That's just such a overused type thing that, well, I'm not that and I can't do that. No, you are that. You are a full-time minister as a believer, and wherever you are. So, whether it's campus ministry or whether it's nursing that leads you into some other areas of ministry, we're going to be praying that God, you're a freshman. I always found it odd, right, that we're supposed to figure out what we're going to do the rest of our lives when we're like 18 years old. I mean, that's tough. I mean, some of y'all are like 38 years old and you still don't know what to do with your life. So, I mean, but it's tough, right? So we're going to be praying for Grace, and you're going to be praying for Grace. She's a part of our spiritual family. She's a sister in Christ now to all of us in a multi-generational, multi-ethnic church. That is so important that we are all able to do this together, praying for her as God leads her in her journey and schooling, and then also where he's leading her in the future. But aren't we excited that Grace surrendered her life to Jesus Christ as being baptized today because of campus ministry? Amen? Woo-hoo. All right. So we're about to do a tag team, and the next set of students are going to come out and leaders. This isn't like those of you who were watching wrestling last night and The Rock and John Cena and all that. I know some of y'all watching that. So, Josiah, were you watching that last night? Cody Rhodes? Oh, he doesn't watch that. Okay. This is Josiah Keevan and Brett Hallam.
Yes, yes. Super excited to be able to do this. Talking to a former In Focus Youth alumni. What? I don't know.
Yeah, he's alumni.
Yeah, there we go. That word, that word. But yes, Brett used to be in Focus Youth. You are now a sophomore in college.
Yes, I am.
AU, which is,
I almost said no, even though I'm pretty sure I had to remind you last service that I'm a sophomore. So now I can't blame you.
But yeah, we're excited to hear what God's doing in your life.
Yes, and I have the opportunity and privilege to disciple Brett every week, and we get to meet one-on-one, and it is a lot of fun. It's difficult. We have difficult conversations, but we are growing closer with each other and towards God. So I'm grateful to be able to have the opportunity with Brett. The first question I have for you, Brett, is what challenges did you experience in your first year of school, and how did ENC help overcome those challenges?
So I said this last service, but my challenges were super practical in the beginning. Was just the transition to college is super difficult, obviously. There's a lot of things that are different. But one of the things is the administration side of being at a university and doing all that yourself, where a lot of that is taken care of in high school by other people doing jobs that they do in their high school. But like now you have to do some of those things. And so one of the things is like navigating some of the online schooling that we do and all the homework being through that online. And I was able to have people around me that had already walked out their first year of college and were able to walk me through that experience. And it was super comforting to know that like I wasn't gonna be just lost. Like if I was gonna have an issue or like have something that was difficult in some way, I was comforted knowing that I had people that were going to love me enough to spend the time to teach me how to use those things and do those things. So that was something that was super practical that I think is very helpful, especially if like you're a oldest child or a only child, or if no one else is going to the college that you're going to that all of those things. It's very helpful to have people in ENC to be able to speak into those things. And then on the spiritual side of things, it was extremely helpful to have accountability and consistency going each week. And like sometimes I didn't want to go, but being consistent and going, it was super beneficial for me in my growth and my walk with Jesus.
Yeah, very well. Very well said. Compound interest, that the more you do something productive that has a positive outcome, God will multiply it. And so, it's really cool for us as, I was thinking earlier or for the first service that, yes, Josiah has helped with youth in tremendous ways throughout the years, but for a time, y'all were both students in youth, and then eventually he became youth lead and then started to lead a small group, but then also uniquely, he's your brother-in-law. So he has a lot of unique vantage points. I got to watch you come up as a student leader in the youth group, and you were homeschooled, but still trying to
You didn't need to tell everybody that. That wasn't necessary.
Well, I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
So transitioning now to being on a college campus where you are sharing your faith, and it's different because you were homeschooled and part of a co-op and basketball where you guys had that championship and all the things. But what's it look like? What's it look like for you sharing your faith as a college student now?
Yeah. It's a super unique experience because not everybody has the opportunity, or I guess only college students really have the opportunity all the time, unless you're like Thomas and Mark, able to do that as your job, which is amazing. But if you are a student, you have the opportunity to be there all the time, every day on campus, seeing the same people in the same classes every day. Very similar to high school, but there's more freedom and more time to have conversations and things. So there is some of that difference. But I think it's such a cool thing to be able to build relationships in those classes with people. And it's such a special time in everybody's life that like people are just very open to hearing things and to having conversations. And I'm always surprised because college students are very different than high schoolers in the sense of like, if you go to have a conversation with someone in college, they're gonna actually stop and most of the time start to genuinely listen. Because they like, unless they're like going to a class, they got nothing to do. And so they're just like gonna listen to you, have a conversation. They don't know people if they're coming in from another state, so they're like willing to make friends, hear new people's stories and things like that. So it's just a great opportunity to go out and evangelize and talk with people. And something that I haven't taken enough advantage of while I've been in college, and something that I've been convicted of recently. Convicted of.
That's
Convicted
right.
of? That sounded really weird. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not a criminal. I was like, what? And then I was like confused as to what that word meant for a second. We're good. We're back. But anyways, so that was something recently that I wanted to start making a change in and to be super intentional about. So I'm going to be going out with Mark more often and more consistently. But in the past, it has been an incredible experience to be able to take advantage of that while on campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And you make a good point because we all have those spaces and places that we're in where we have people around us and open doors that we maybe don't take, but we should take. And through the power of your just testimony right then, you're challenging me, and hopefully you, everyone else is being challenged as well. So Brett, in a minute or less, what advice do you have for incoming freshmen looking to get involved with ENC?
I think one of the most important things is to make sure that you are consistent, and I know I keep saying that, but consistency and intentionality within ENC, because as you're coming out of high school, a lot of things are just habit, like going to youth. If you go to youth, your parents brought you, and then you were just used to it. It was a habit, so you kept going. But going into college, it's a new experience, and so you don't have that habit yet. So you have to build that, and it's not going to be built for you. So you have to make that choice to go every single week, whether you want to or not. And sometimes I don't, to be honest. And I know I said that, but like I don't. Like it's an exhausting day. But in the end, I know I'm going to go, and I know I'm going to grow while I'm there and learn. And it's just super important to just make that choice intentionally, because again, it's not, nobody else is going to make that choice for you.
That's great. That's great. Let's give a round of applause for Brett. Appreciate you, Brett. Keep positioning yourself to receive all God has for you, man. And he's going to continue to move you along. Appreciate you, Brett. All right. Joining us on stage now is another In Focus Youth alumni. I was thinking the plural word, alumna. That's where I was trying to go. But Caleb Washington, a college freshman at Wingate University in North Carolina. So, as I've said, you were part of In Focus Youth for your duration of both middle school and high school as well, where in your involvement, you got to experience different things. You got to experience the summer mission trip to Baja, Mexico, like some of our high schoolers are raising support for now. But you also, within the last year, have experienced the ENC conference. And so at that conference, you heard testimonies given. You saw what Jesus was doing at different campuses. And you left that conference changed. So tell us a little bit about that. What has changed in your life since the ENC conference?
So funny you mentioned that, actually, because before I went to ENC, one of the things I asked God to do was to put change in my life and like in my heart, because first semester was kind of rough, and I wanted just to get the bitterness out of my soul, the sadness, like basically like rebuild a broken spirit. So at ENC, one of the things they like harped on a lot, like way more than they did the last time I went, was like going out and evangelizing and spreading the gospel. And at first, like, I'm not gonna lie, I told God, no, I was like, God, I'm not ready for this. Like, no, like, I'm still trying to clean up my life, and you want me to go out and like preach your word, and my life looks unclean. Until after ENC, I went with Mark. Mark texted me and was like, hey, come with me to campus to evangelize. I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna come with you. And I saw Mark do it, and I was just like moved because it was like, oh wow, like I was watching people like change, basically, watch people like sit there and listen, and I was watching how like Mark was speaking to him and the wisdom he was giving. I was like, oh wow, like I like this. So I kept going back. I went with him for 2 weeks, and on maybe like the third day, he asked him, he was like, you ready to do one? Like, you gonna do one today? And I was like, whoa, let's slow down. Like, I'm not ready for all that yet. He was like, you're good, man. Like, I'm here with you. I got you. So I was like, you know what? I don't go to this school anyway, so this is probably the last time, like, they're going to see me anyway. Why not? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, like, now I got a reason to do it. So I went out and did it, and something in me, like, we always pray before we do it, so we, like, prayed, and as I went to go talk to the person, I remember, like, talking to Mark after I talked to him. I was like, Mark, I don't know where, like, anything I said came from, because that wasn't me. Like, I was like, he was like, bro, that's the spirit moving in you. And I was like, I like this. Like, and then he encouraged me. We had a talk. He was like, you know, like, what do you feel about like going back and doing this on your campus? I was like, you know what? I really want to do this. And he asked me, he was like, do you have anybody that would like go with you? And I was like, yeah, my homeboy Trell, because he doesn't mind talking to people. So I told Trell, like, yeah, let's go out and evangelize to people. Like, let's spread the gospel. He was like, bro, I'm down to do it. So we went out and we started talking to people. And first day we did 3 people. 2 of them were seniors, actually, believe it or not. So, you know, we run into a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of foreign kids, too, a lot of, like, people from out of the country. So it's a good experience. And basically it, yeah. That's how I started.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing about Mark, if you go evangelize with him on campus, he will make you talk to someone. And it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but like Caleb said, and the experiences I've even had on campus, it has truly changed my life from the conversations that I've been able to have with students on the AU campus. But like Caleb said, he started doing it on his campus at Wingate, correct? I said that right.
Yes,
because
sir.
he got me confused last service talking about another college. Okay, anyways. The last service you did share some experiences that you had on the campus with evangelizing with students. Can you share one of those experiences with us and what that has looked like for you?
Okay, so y'all get a new experience. Y'all don't get the same one first service did. That's gonna like, because some of y'all already heard this, so new story. So the first day me and Trell went together, you know, I'm feeling confident. I'm like, yeah, I got this. And I called Mark, and one of the things I told Mark, I was like, Mark, you know, the day I'm probably able to do this by myself, confidence is gonna skyrocket, like through the roof. So funny, it happened like right then and there. I think God was kind of like oh really? Like, let's see, you know, take the steps in your talk, right? So second day came out, I hit Trell up. I was like, Trell, you ready to go? He was like, bro, I got a meeting with my coach. And I was like, oh, so I got to go by myself. Okay. So I was like really, really nervous at first. The prayer walk I did before I went was like 10 minutes longer because I'm like, okay, like I really, really got to go by myself, but I got this. So I was walking around and I got to talk to this dude. His name is Zach. He's a senior. And he had heard about Jesus because his girlfriend was a Christian and like been in church, so he used to like go with her. But he didn't really like fully jump into it. Because I guess the like past stuff that had happened like with him in the church and like how people was basically like, I guess, judging his parents' lifestyle and stuff like that. So one of the things I talked to him about was like, you know, I'm sorry that happened for you, but like to be honest, like churches aren't supposed to do that. And I'm gonna say this because like my mom uses this all the time and it's always sat in my head. My mom told me that churches are like hospitals. That's exactly what I told him. It's like, if you're sick, you're supposed to go to a hospital. Hospitals aren't for well people. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all sinners at the end of the day, so, like, all of us need to be in the church. And we shouldn't judge each other for that. We're supposed to love each other, build each other up so we can look more like Christ. And I gave him that encouragement, and I was like, you know, I'm sorry that happened to you and your family, but, you know, like, most Christians are like that, bro. Like, we're supposed to, like, build each other up. So I was just like, you know, keep going to church with her at least and keep, like, eventually you're gonna like have that encounter with God, and hopefully like this encounter can like bring you to that water. Because the saying like you can always bring a horse to water, you can never make him drink it. I was explaining that to him like, I'm just here to bring you to the water. It's up to you if you want to drink it or not. So we talked for like 20 minutes. It was really good. I got his Instagram, hit him up sometimes, and that's a good one.
Appreciate you sharing that, because it demonstrates this reality that our job as Christians is to plant seeds and water them. Like when we have that perspective that God is not calling us to change people's hearts, we can't. So even the confidence that you talked about it's not confidence in you, like whoa, like when you Caleb is also a collegiate athlete. He plays football at Wingate. So when he's getting in the weight room, like sure, it might be typical to psych yourself up before you do a heavy lift, but this heavy lifting is something God has to do, not us. We're just saying, God, I'm going to play my part. I'm willing to trust you to do what only you can do, and I'm going to be the part in the play, but you're the one that's going to bring the transformation. And I might see it, I might not, but you're trusting God to take those steps so that you can plant seeds and water them. And I appreciate you describing that and putting that in perspective for us. Here, in 30 seconds or less, because we're over time, but in 30 seconds or less, can you tell us what you think your future at Wingate will look like? What's God going to continue doing in your life?
Hopefully to keep being a leader, keep influencing people, and hopefully start an NC chapter up there, because we don't have one. So next few years, see what we can do up there.
Amen.
That's awesome, man.
We're believing with you, man.
I'm proud of you, bro.